Hello, my loves. If you're watching the replay, hashtag it replay, let me know that you were here and I will send you some love. Just gonna wait for a moment and get this prepared. There we go. This live doesn't really have any purpose other than to just come on and chat with you guys and see how everybody is doing and to kind of talk about how I'm doing and how I'm experiencing this, because it's been so interesting to see how different everybody's experiencing this energy, because we're all in different spaces, right? So everything is a circle. And this is why there's no hierarchy, right? There's no better than or less than. Where everything is a circle. It's a spiral, really. It's not really a circle. It's more of a spiral. But we're going to use the circle for an example. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Um, And so I might be here and you might be here and someone else might be here. And so we're at different spaces of our evolution. That's what the circle or the spiral is. It's just the evolution. And so it's interesting to see from people who are completely unaware to people who are on the brink of their um, stepping into their new frequency. Like we're all going through things at a different level. And I knew October was going to be intense when I did the update. Before I did the update, we were already in it. I knew that this month was going to be probably the most transformational month of the whole entire year. And I thought that was August. Honestly, August was a humdinger, but October is taking the cake. Literally, it's taking it all. So I'd love for you guys to share like what you're going through, how you're experiencing it in the comments, because it's really important that people know that it's okay to feel, and that's what we're really going to talk about today. That it's okay to feel. So how are you feeling? How are you experiencing this? Hi, Sonia. Um, and we're not even over yet. Like we have so much more. I mean, not even considering astrologically, right? We have two eclipses coming up. Eclipse energy is always dicey. But I'm not even talking about eclipse energy, just the evolution of the planet and the frequencies and how quickly um, we are evolving, and the amount of and this is an interesting, they're wanting me to share what this means. I think I've shared this many times before, but maybe someone needs to hear it. What does it mean when the frequency of the planet increases? And we talk about these sustained frequency increases. And what that means is it's the amount of light, aka information. Light is information. So it's the amount of light or information that we are processing per hour. Per hour. So you may think, oh, well, maybe I process, you know, 15 minutes of information per hour or an hour of information per hour. And it's not. We are talking hundreds of thousands of hours of information we are now processing per hour. I'm going to say that again. Hundreds of thousands of hours of information we are processing per hour now. And that's why so many people feel overwhelmed and anxious, um, confused, losing their mind. So many people are exiting the matrix completely, because not everybody is meant to go to sustain this. Not everybody has done the work or wants to do the work, because it's not easy by any means. And we're not going to pretend that it is. It's a challenge. Um, it's a challenge to be here, to choose. We chose this, right? We chose to be here. We chose to go through one of the biggest transformations in the universe that's actually going to happen this time. Atlantis fell more than once. A lot of people don't know that. Atlantis didn't just fall one time. We went through two falls of Atlantis. Um, we've tried this transformation many, many times, and we've learned a lot through those experiences. And this time we're going to get it. it's gonna happen. Whether we see it in our actual life or in my lifetime, we'll find out, right? It's not the point. The point is we are actually on the right trajectory. And a lot of times we don't feel like that's the case because there's so much crazy crap happening on the world stage, but it's it's important to remind you guys that we are on the right path and we are getting it right this time. It's just not meeting our expectations or what it looks like, but it has to be uncomfortable, because if you're not uncomfortable, you won't change. If you were comfortable, you wouldn't make the decisions that you are making today. You wouldn't, or maybe this is why we have tower moments, what we call in tarot, tower moments, or when life hits the fan or when everything goes wrong. It's because we're not listening and we're not choosing, and we're allowing fear to be the thing that stops us from doing what we want to do or what we know we should be doing, because of our core wounds. So everything kind of collapses around us and forces us to be so uncomfortable that we finally change, because anything's got to be better than the discomfort that we're feeling. You know what I mean? And so everybody is going to experience different things. And no matter who you are or what you teach or how ascended you are, how long you've been on this journey, none of it matters anymore. We're all the same. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is, can you manage your energy? What matters is, do you know how to regulate your nervous system? What matters is, can you allow yourself to feel and be in the discomfort? Can you allow yourself to admit that you don't feel good, or that you're angry, or that you're sad, or that you're having a depressive day, or are you just going to tell someone I'm fine and just shove it down and keep it to yourself because of whatever reason? We have to make it okay to not be okay. And what the guide said that I recorded and posted yesterday, no matter how low you fall, that's how high you will fly. Life is a heartbeat, not a flat line. It's true. Because when you're a flat line in the hospital, what does that mean? It means you're dead. It means you're not human anymore. You've left the human body. But when you have a heartbeat, there's ups and downs, right? We want to get it into a regular rhythm, which would be flow state, which would be a regulated nervous system, allowing yourself to do not the high peaks and lows, right? We don't want to be super extreme, but sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes we have to go through the extremes. Let me put my glasses on so I can read without squinting. Big month for sure. Some large pieces of shadow work, things I thought I dealt with, but nope, still need some hard work. Yeah. It's never going to end, Heather. It's never going to end. It's We're just constantly going to get to a new layer until we get all the way to the root. And even then, when you get to the root, um, I don't ever believe that you're never triggered again or you never have self-worth issues. I think you're always, when you're ready to hit that next level, you're always going to be challenged with beliefs or old programming, that keeps you from expanding to that new level of sustainment. And with October being, as we talked about in the energy update, core wounds, right? Triggering your core wounds. What are your core wounds? Some people don't even know what their core wounds are. My core wounds are denial, self-worth slash not enough, um, and abandonment. Those are my core wounds, right? So the root of them all is denial. Denying that there's a problem, denying my actual reality, living in the fantasy, denial of my emotions, denial of what is. And that's the first stage of the 5 stages of grief, is denial, right? So in order to move even from denial to anger, we have to break the denial. And the only way to break denial is to see that you're in denial. If somebody tries to move you out of denial and show you that you're in denial, it will only push you further into denial. It's so weird how denial works, but I have a lot of experience with that one. So we can just take off the table that we're ever going to not have issues to work with or look at. We can just take that off the table. We can just say that that's not a thing. We will always have something. It doesn't mean that our life will always be challenging, there will always be constant shadow work. I believe that we actually can heal faster through joy, and when we make that switch, um, we experience this journey a lot more pleasantly, even when we are emotional. Um, but it's important to take that off. Let's just take it off the table. You're always going to have shit to work through. You're always going to have something, because if you don't, then you're not growing, you're not evolving, you're not expanding. And when we expand, you have to break barriers, you have to break limiting beliefs, you have to break old energy to expand out. You know what I mean? Nicole says, I feel like we're on the edge of a big change. I'm at peace, but also nervous, excited. The energy is intense and overwhelming. Absolutely is. And you're absolutely right. We are on the edge of a big change, very big change. It's already happening. We just don't see it in real time. Um, because one, they're not showing us the true changes that are happening. But the thing that I always remind myself of, that the guides always remind me of, is the more dirt we see, we know the more light is being shed, right? So the more light there is, the more dirt you're going to see. So the more chaos we see, the more evil, darkness, whatever you want to label it or judge it to be, that just shows us that there's that much more light shining on the planet, you know? And I don't know about you guys, but and I don't watch the news, but just from the little bit of social media that I've been on, I I'm like, this planet is a whack reality show right now. The shit that is going on, that's being exposed, is insane. It's just insane. The clips that are being leaked, the things that are coming out, it's just insane, the amount of stuff that's being exposed right now. And it makes me laugh, but at the same time, there's a lot of fear mongering happening, right? With threat of war and famine and blah, blah, blah. But if you look back in history, the politics have been threatening something every decade. There's something new. There's been something new. It's all a bunch of malarkey. None of it's real. If there was they wouldn't be telling us if there was a real danger. I mean, we just have to remind ourselves that the real dangers are what they're hiding from us, and they are the real danger. And anything that they're talking about a threat of is never a threat. And this comes back to what I've been talking about in the last few energy updates, that everything's inverted. So do the opposite of what they say. Listen, whatever they're saying, the opposite is true. Whatever you're feeling, the opposite is true. So when I'm feeling unworthy, when I'm feeling not enough, I use something that I went deeper into in Salvation, which, by the way, is going to be relaunching here very soon. But is everything's inverted. So if I'm unworthy, or if I'm feeling unworthy or not enough, what is it I always say, what is it an opportunity for? What is the opportunity in the challenge? What is the opportunity? If I'm in doubt, what's the opportunity? It's going to be the opposite. It's just the matter of, do you have the courage to actually practice the opposite in spite of how you feel? Because, since 2015, I've been talking about act as if, but it's not act as if as in spend money like you're a millionaire. It's act as in, what would it feel like if you were or had or said or whatever the case may be, and then you need to operate in that energy. Everything's about energy. The circumstances don't matter. The how doesn't matter. It's just the energy that matters. But yeah, so we're on the cusp of a very big change, and I'm excited for it. But remember, everything that has to everything is energy first, and then it has to the more repetition that we experience that same energy. This is why consistency is important. The more repetition we have in it doing that energy, the more it will build into physicality. So that's how manifestation works, is you have to continuously be in the energy to create form. So whatever your unconscious current is that is constantly running, that's running the majority of the time, whatever that frequency is what will manifest in your life. And sometimes it's really hard to hear that. I know I struggle with this still, even though I know it. Just because I channel this information, just because I know it, because I teach it, doesn't mean that I still don't have bad days. It doesn't mean that I still don't have days where I don't feel enough or that I don't feel worthy or that I'm struggling. 2022 has been one of the hardest years I've ever had in my entire life. It's insane, and we'll talk about that more. My brain is tired, but I keep going because the relief that comes feels so much better. Yeah, just keep swimming is in my head always. Just keep swimming. But I'm with you, Heather. I don't know if you'd say my brain is tired. I'm just tired of being tired. I'm tired. I'm ready to have consistent uh, energy where I'm wanting to do things. Sonia says, I'm feeling better today. I had a lot of fatigue recently. Same, sister. I was doing a lot of emotional eating, but that stopped. It could be emotional eating, but it can also be when we have these spikes, when the frequency goes really high, as we're, as it, because it's just continuing to climb, you guys, it's just going to continue to climb. Um, I notice that when we're having the spikes that I tend to want to munch. I usually crunch. Like so usually I grab my grain-free trips and I'll be standing in the kitchen and I'll be eating them and I'll be like, I'll tune in, I'll be like, oh, we're in a spike right now. And so what's happening is that there's so much energy coming in, we don't know what to do with it. Right. And that's where a lot of people think it's overwhelm or anxiety because there's so much energy coming into us or around us. For some people, they haven't made enough space inside of their body for the new updates to come in, the higher frequencies. So it builds around them, right? So you feel like almost like a pressurizing around you, like you can feel it all around you, but nothing's happened because you haven't really let it in or you haven't released and made the space to allow it in. That's why the guides keep using the cell phone update, right? Sometimes we get these updates and you have to clear photos or text or emails to make space for the new update. Well, what if there's 40 updates lined up? You have to keep making space for the new energy to come in. And that's kind of what's happening right now. But as that happens, right, when we sense the energy, sometimes it almost is like a nervousness where you're nervous eating or you're trying to do something to distract you or you're like, oh my God, I got to do something. I don't know what to do because, it's overwhelming. It's just the energy. And so something that I did that Sonia knows in the YouTube membership was my guides took me through an experience of finding your center. They called it the center of your domain. And they took me through this energetic experience. And then I shared with them a snippet of what I taught in energy matrix, which is repairing your etheric rim and really working with your energy management because it's really, really imperative right now that you know how to manage your energy. And so even I've had a lot of moments where I'm like, oh my God, there's so much coming in and having to find the center of my domain and having to work with my energy to keep myself in my body because it's actually our nervous systems are used to and are comfortable in the discomfort of dysregulation, and it's almost like heroin. It's an addiction. You get addicted to the chaos. You get addicted to the highs and lows. You get addicted to the energy because when it's low, the high feels so much better, right? And so it's the same with addicts. It's the same thing. You get addicted to the highs and lows. And so when you start to regulate your system and your highs and lows are not like so dramatic, it can feel more uncomfortable than living in a chaotic state, which sounds crazy, but that's how most people are living. It's really how most people are living. So when we get into that space of regulation and peace, we're like, well, this is boring. And instead of using that as a spark to find joy or to do something that's exhilarating or exciting or happy for you or just enjoying the peace, we end up calling in chaos or more dysregulation. But it can be both. It can be emotional eating and it can also be just, because we're trying to ground. A lot of people ground, try to bring themselves back into their, because that's what grounding means, to be in your body. Try to do it with food. The programming, it is a hard cycle to break, but I'm not going to let another generation pass and not break these chains that have bound me my entire life. It's so joyous to see my change affecting the others around me in a positive way instead of the same old problems. And that's all we can ever do. Like that's only our job. Heather's right. That's the only job we ever have, is to be the change. That's it. That's how you're going to be the highest service to the world, to your family, to your kids, to your friends, to your parents, to yourself, is to be the change, to show up and be that. And I always say, like, what you do behind closed doors, what you do, what you say, how you act behind closed doors when no one's watching and no one's listening, that's when it matters the most, really. Because if you're doing something other, if you're operating in the real world, something different than you are behind closed doors, then you're wearing a mask. You're pretending. It's not real. It's phony. So it's really important that you really look at, how do I operate? How do I handle my energy and my emotions when they come up? What do I do? How do I speak to myself? How do I treat myself? Like, what do I do when no one's watching, when no one's listening? Our only job ever is to be the change, because you go first. We are literally walking projectors. Everything is inverted. This is duality. You are literally projecting your reality from your state of being, from your unconscious or subconscious current that's running, that most people aren't even tapped into. They're like, oh, they're living in a reality that they're creating a reality. Oh, I feel good today, everything's fine. But deep down they're like, it's not fine, it's not okay. And we have to stop that. We have to stop pretending that we're okay when we're not okay. We have to admit and be willing to be like, yeah, today's a shit day. And I've had to do it. Like, I've had to go into my memberships and be like, you know what, I was going to go live and I'm not, because my energy's shit today. And you guys know that forever I have always been very vulnerable and very transparent about my journey. And a lot of people don't like that, because they say, oh, you're a teacher, you're a channeler, you shouldn't be having these things. Says who? I'm still a human, I'm still evolving. I just know how to manage my energy. So I allow myself. And over the last few days, like over the weekend, I went through the 5 stages of grief about 50 times in 2 days. It was intense. I could feel the wave coming. It would break the denial of the energy I was in. I had a lot of denial beliefs being broken, a lot of things of, look at the reality right now, Johanna, look at what's in front of you. I had to let that, I had to see that I wasn't looking at something. I had to break that. And then I would get angry. And so I'd get in my car and I would drive and I would scream and yell and just let it out, let the energy out, allow it to be expressed. And then I would do that until I broke to the next stage, which is when I would cry, right? I would just emotionally, I would just start sobbing. And there would be an aspect of me that would start bargaining with the universe, start bargaining with different versions of myself. Please let me go, or please help me, or please see me. I would listen. Right? I use my own processes, my own modalities, and I would listen to what those versions of me were saying, what the words were coming out of my mouth. And then once that would subside, I would come into almost like a depressive state where I was just like numb, not numb. Numb is not the right word. Exhausted. There was nothing less to release, and I would just have to accept and be, and then the cycle would repeat. So I was literally going through the 5 stages of grief. And so a couple of weeks ago, when I shared, when I was having a few days where I was completely unexpired, and I have been exhausted for years because I'm healing adrenal fatigue. And that is a very long process, by the way. But I had a whole lot of people comment, like, I'm so sorry. And that's too bad. And that's terrible. And it's like, no, it's not. There's nothing to be sorry for. It's not terrible. I'm not depressed. It's just an emotion that needs to be expressed. That's it. It's a temporary thing. It's not permanent. Depression, in those states, yeah, you can get that way when you set up camp in those emotions, when you won't allow them to be expressed, when you won't allow them to flow, when you hold them back and they dam up, then yeah, you can get that way. But we're allowed to have depressive days. We're allowed to have days where we're angry. We're allowed to have days where we're annoyed, right? We're allowed to have days where we don't want to do anything. We don't want to see anybody. We don't have any inspiration. We don't want to push. We don't want to bulldoze. We don't want to make ourselves do something. We're allowed to have those days and we're allowed to admit that we're having those days. It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean that you're not using the right tools or that you're not enough. It doesn't mean any of those things or that you're the problem. It means there's an emotion that needs to be expressed because emotion is fuel. It's the thing that moves you from where you are to where you want to be. It's literally your fuel. I was just talking about this last night with Tanya a little bit, and or no, I don't know, over the last 2 days, and we were talking about emotions, right? And something that I used to share with my son. We look at some of the best music that's out there. It was created from an emotional state. Someone had heartbreak. Someone was angry as fuck, and they used that emotion to create something beautiful. So it can be used as a creative process or it just can be expressed. But we have to stop pretending that we're okay when we're not okay. And I see a lot of teachers and healers and way showers out there who are putting on the mask and you never see everything always looks perfect and everything always looks great. And we know behind the scenes that's not the case. It's important that when we talk about being of service and being an influencer and showing up and choosing to do this work, that we do it from a space of honesty and transparency. And it's not that we share when we're in it, it's not that we emote all over our audience or our followers or our students or our community or whatever you want to call this. Is that when we move through it, we come and we share about it and we're honest about it and we talk about it because we have to start making it okay. We have to make emotions okay. Sorry, I had to go on a tangent. But breaking the cycle is why I always teach the purification process in everything that I do. And there's so many different layers to the purification process and why I really love QET. So with the purification process that came in for me in 2019, because I was begging on my closet floor in tears, like I have to break this cycle. I have to stop this. I cannot keep repeating this. And that process came in, and I used it for me before I ever taught it. Nothing I teach is something that I learned from somewhere. It's because I real lifed it, and it was what helped me and what has helped many students. So my anything that I teach comes from my blood, sweat, and tears. But breaking the cycle is so challenging sometimes, but it's worth it. It is so worth it because when we show up differently, we change our reality, period. It has to happen. It has to happen that way. Hold on a second. I recently been rereading You Can Heal Your Life with Louise Hay, and it has reminded me to do my positive affirmations. Well, Sonia, I have my own take on affirmations, whatever works for you, my love. I think if you really believe the positive affirmation, then use it. But if you don't believe it, if you're trying to lie to yourself and tell yourself something that you can't get behind, then don't. So that's my take on affirmations. One, I always allow myself to express whatever emotion that I'm in. I don't try to put a positive band aid on it, even though I know it's all happening for me and I know nothing but good can come from it. I allow myself to be like, well, this sucks. This feels like shit. I'm just honest with myself, right? But one thing that I have done and teach differently is you have to start with where you are. So I could never be the person that stood in the mirror and was like, I love my body, I love myself, because I didn't. And I could literally see the parts of me inside of me rolling their eyes and being like, yeah, right, you're lying to yourself. So instead, what I did was I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, I appreciate I have very stocky, thick legs. I'm German and we're built different. And so I'm very big boned or thick boned, right? We're very stocky people. Um, I would say I appreciate my thick legs because um, they were the strongest part of my body, and I literally could do just about anything with my legs. Um, I appreciate when I had weight on my belly. I would say I appreciate the weight in my stomach because it's protecting me. I would say things that were true, that were more of an appreciative state. So that's my only caveat with in what my perspective with positive affirmations. You want to stretch it a little bit, but don't ever tell yourself something that you cannot get behind as truth because then you're just lying to yourself. But it is important to be compassionate with yourself. And I love Louise Hay. It is important to be compassionate with yourself. It is important to be like you're doing the best you can. I was so proud of every time I go through these cycles where I go through these really intense death and rebirth cycles, like I went through over the weekend. I always am like, I'm so proud of you for feeling that. I'm so proud of you for expressing that because it feels, you guys, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It feels like death. It feels like I'm dying when I go through these. And I've done it a few times over the last year. It literally feels like I'm dying or like I want to die. Give me 1 second. I need to let the dog out. Gotta use the bell. Okay, I'm back. And this is another reason why I've talked about this. I've talked about this many times, but I'm going to share it again. I think a lot of the reason why people commit suicide is because an aspect of them is wanting to die. An aspect of them. We have hundreds of aspects within ourselves, and um, as we start to integrate those aspects, it sometimes feels like death. But they're not dying; they're going home. They're coming into union with you. And a lot of times, people who aren't very aware or haven't really been doing this work or just can't discern at the time, they actually believe that they really want to die instead of discerning that it's a part of them that wants to die. A part of them is going into a state of deep rest where they're done. They're not going to do this anymore. They're not going to play that role. You've gotten everything out of that aspect that, you've healed whatever, and it's time for it to come into your heart. Because I always talk about this. When emotions are most intense, it's because it's literally vended up from the unconscious basement inside of you. And as it gets closer and closer to your heart, it's going to get more and more intense. So the more intense the emotion, the closer it is to your heart. And it is banging on the door of your heart saying, open the door, let me in. Love me, hug me, hold me. Don't judge me. Don't persecute me. Don't shame me. Open the door, let me fall into your arms and say, it's okay that you feel this way. I'm here with you. It sucks. I'm going to sit in the fucking dark with you. That's it. That's all we have to do. And that's why I love my processes, because they're so simple and adaptable, and they allow me to get to that state very quickly, no matter what's happening in my reality. I've had a lot of crown chakra tingles lately. Is that related? Yes, because when you feel the energy, when you feel the tingles on your crown, you are actually feeling the energy coming in. Like you are literally receiving a download or receiving new frequencies. So when you're feeling those tingles, really be listening to the subtle energy, listening to what your intuition is saying, what your guides are saying, or just listen to the subtle energies. Notice how to, like, you have to learn to read your body. What do you feel? Interpret it. And you may not know right in that moment, because sometimes the information comes in and what the guides call like a zip drive, and you're receiving it, but you might not be at a level of awareness or discernment that you can unzip that drive yet. Because if you try to unzip it too early and you're not at a space of discernment or awareness to understand what's coming in, it could be wasted, right? It's unusual. You would miss the information or misinterpret it. So sometimes it comes in as a zip drive and it's stored. And when you're ready, it's going to unzip and it's going to be like ding, 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 ding. So everyone's going to go, process that differently. Kelly says, been looking forward to applying the purification process again, but also smooth, calm seas lately. It will come in time. Yep. But you can use the purification process even in times of joy. You can use it in any time. It's just a matter of practicing it's basically helping you to have awareness, understanding, integration, acceptance, and just taking it in. So we forget to do this with things in our life that feel good too. So when you are in a good state, when you are in joy, when you are having a good day, it's important to use the same process. And just because we call it the purification process, yes, we are purifying the energy, right? We're making it, we're moving it, ascending, right, from carbon to crystalline, from density to energy to flow. But it's all about wisdom. That's what it is, because the reason we take it from density to crystallization is because density is limiting, where crystallization is the wisdom that remains. And I always talk about this. What course did I really go into this? I think it was Unity. But, we talk about 12 dimensions, right? Well, those are the 12 auric field layers of Earth, essentially. And so all that information builds up, like Earth fills up the auric field with all the information that we're evolving in and we're gaining and things that are happening in the universe. And then once it gets full, it compacts it down. It does like a trash compactor. The energy of the Earth compacts it down and it becomes a crystal. So the crystals that are mined from the Earth, and why I always say we're never going to run out of crystals. The crystals that are mined from the Earth are literally wisdom, because all the energy that the Earth has collected compacts and becomes wisdom. So we release the stories, the trauma, the beliefs, all of that sheds. That's the density. And what's left is just the wisdom that remains. And it creates a crystal. And that crystal is crystallized in the Earth. The same thing is happening to us. So as you move through an experience and and you get rid of the story and you get rid of all the excess garbage that the ego creates and our inner children create, what's left is wisdom, and you can gain a lot of wisdom and joy. So you can use the process the same way. It's okay to not be okay, just don't live there. Yep. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Difficulty sleeping. Let's talk about that. When I let the dog in. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. Come on, inside. Thank you. Okay. So sleep is going to be something that no, as your frequency increases, sleep is going to be more challenging at times because you don't really need to sleep as much as people think. You just need to rest your body. So you need to rest. You can meditate at night. You can lay there and just be in stillness, which can be really challenging for people sometimes. Um, and just just focus on your breath and being present in the moment. Um, but resting your body in the dark and just being is what's most important. And so I have given tips over the years on how to work with sleep, but it's really about regulating your nervous system and just allowing yourself to be in peace. But the higher your frequency goes, like the higher your frequency is as a human, sleep becomes challenging because you realize you don't really need it. And so when the energy is calm at night, because there's not so much chaos going on in the collective, right? When people are sleeping, it's like you can hear the subtle energies much clearer. And so for me anyway, what I notice is either if I'm not sleeping, I'm channeling. I'm getting information, I'm listening. Sometimes I sit and write it on my notepad. Sometimes I just listen to it because I know I'm not going to, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to retain it. Because when you're channeling it, when you're receiving it that way, that's why I'm always writing everything down really fast because, or I go back and listen to my own recordings and lives because I don't remember anything. It's just coming through me. So you can listen, you can meditate, you can just be present with your body. And again, it's not going to be easy if you're someone that needs to be busy, right? Because when you need to be busy or on social media or doing something, it's because you need to distract yourself. You have a hard time being present. And that's usually because of trauma, right? So I know for me lately, the things that I've been doing is setting 15-minute timers. I talked about this before on one of my reels where I microdose life, where I'll take 10 or 15 minutes and just be in complete stillness. And you can do that multiple times a day. When you're eating, to really slow down, take slow bites, chew slowly, notice the sensations, the flavors, the textures, things like that. So it's just a matter of slowing your process down. And because when we're still, when we're not doing something, it's a trauma response if when we don't feel comfortable with that. So, but sleep is going to be all over the place. And some people are sleeping a lot. And let's talk about that because that's a hack. Um, and a lot of people are like think it is a bad thing, but here's what happens. And I've talked about this before as well. But people used to listen to my transmissions, my meditative transmissions, my journeys, and they'd be like 5 minutes and I was passed out, and then I was starting to come to at the end, and I'd say, "Well, what? You didn't miss anything. They knocked you out to get you out of the way to allow for the healing to take place." So if you're somebody who struggles to slow down, struggles to be present, to relax, to just be, and that's hindering you from going through a release process or a healing process, that the ascension process, it will knock you out. And so sometimes people are like, oh, I can't do this, I'm going to go to bed. But if you're going to now, the caveat to this is if you're taking something to pass out to avoid your emotions, different story, that's a bypass. But if you just feel completely exhausted and you need to sleep for a couple of days, just listen to your body. Just listen to your body. And eventually you'll get to a space where that doesn't happen anymore. Hi, Vanessa. I use tantrum energy, first releasing, then bringing in what I want. Yeah. It's so important to let our inner children have the tantrums they were never allowed to have. It is so important to do that. It is so important. It's so new to me, and I'm trying to tap into what it's trying to tell me. The zip drive makes sense. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, I have a lot of courses, Nicole, that can help you with all of this. You just have to see what feels aligned for you or what feels right for you. But the most important, and those of you guys who are not new here, I'm always saying this, but the most important thing, no matter what, I don't care if you're just a mom, you work in corporate, you're actually a healer, way show, or whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't do any of it. The most important thing you will ever do is learn to manage your energy and read your body. That's it. It's the most important thing. Literally, the most important thing. Foundation should be taught in school. Should be taught in school. My mom would call it a pity party for yourself, but I changed it and removed the negative connotation. Great, Kelly, because it's so there's a difference when we're having a pity party. When we're having a pity party, we're like, poor me, you're in victim. And there's times when that's important, and then there's times where it's played out. Like it's like, okay, you're telling the same story over and over again. You have to let this go. Something has to shift. But when you're using it in a way where I know Sonia's using it in the way that I'm using it, where we feel it coming on. So for me, it comes in waves. I don't know how everyone else, how their energy comes in, but when these wounds get triggered, it comes in waves where I can literally feel it starting to come up. And I have two choices in that moment. I can repress it or resist it because I don't want to feel it, or because I have a belief that I'm not allowed to feel it or whatever, Or I can say, here it comes, grab my keys, get in the car and go, let's do this. And have my tantrum, flip out. It usually lasts a couple of minutes and it's over. And then I'm good for, an hour or two. And then the next wave will come up and I'll grab my keys and do it again. And I just keep doing that. I just keep allowing it. And not every time I need to drive. It's when the anger comes or when I need to allow myself to just rage it out. That's when I drive. But other times it's emotional where it's just I'm crying. And sometimes I don't even know why I'm crying. There's no story attached. There's nothing to search. There's nothing to digest. It's just an emotion that's coming up and it's wanting to be released. You don't always have to have a story, right? So it's very important that we allow ourselves to have the expression. When we're setting up camp in it, it's a different story. But most of the time, our parents, here's what happens. When I was in denial of my anger, when I was in denial of my anger, my son or my daughter or my husband at the time would get super angry. And the very first thing I wanted to do was to stop their emotion. Because if I didn't, it was triggering my emotion. Because as they were feeling it, I could feel it coming up in me, right? Because and again, this is why I say energy protection is bullshit. You're only ever a resonant match for what's inside of you. You will only ever feel or get triggered or attract what is inside of you, what you're a match for. It's universal law. So their anger would trigger me and I could feel it rising up and I'd be like, oh, I don't want to feel this. This is bad. And so I would try to mitigate their emotion to shut them down. And that's because I didn't have emotional intelligence back then. I didn't know how to process my emotions. No one ever taught me how to process my emotions. No one ever taught me that it was okay. No one ever mirrored my emotions back to me. Nobody ever understood because they didn't understand. Right. And so that helps me. And hopefully it helps you guys too to remember that because those stories are not true. They're not yours. It's a program. And our inner children, our fragmented aspects, they're emotionally stunted at whatever age the trauma occurred. And all trauma means is when you didn't feel safe, when you didn't feel safe to be in your body, when you didn't feel seen or heard and you disconnected from yourself. It doesn't have to be big, it can be very small. But that's what trauma is when you disconnect from yourself. When you disconnect from yourself. Yeah. So it's important for you guys to all be able to admit to yourselves when shit is not good. And then celebrate when shit is good. Like you got to do both. I used to be afraid of the good because I knew the shoe was going to drop, right? I knew because it was good, the next thing was going to be the fall. It doesn't have to be so extreme, but that's how my life has been. My life is I have a lot of Scorpio energy, so I tend to live in extremes. And it can be exhausting. It just is. But 2022, you guys, I thought 2015, a lot of you who read my book, right? 2015 was a really hard year for me. It's probably the hardest, I thought was the hardest year of my life. This year has been the hardest year of my life. It just has. And I haven't really talked about it in this way, but it has. It has been the hardest year of my life. I have run out of money more times than I'd like to admit. Not knowing how I was going to pay my bills or how I was going to survive. I've had a lot of anger come up. I've had a lot of times, and I'm in one of those times right now where I don't have a place to go. Like I don't know where my next place is going to be because right now I'm house sitting because I'm traveling the U.S. and I'm at the mercy of finding a place. You know what I mean? And this journey has been about testing my ability to feel safe and at home inside of me with nothing else, without a physical home, without all the false securities of the matrix, right? Your home is a false security, your job is a false security. All of it can be gone in a heartbeat. And so it was learning for me. It was the test of how all this work that I've been doing over the years and that I've been teaching and doing myself, because I'm always a living testament. Let's test it in real life. Like, let's put ourselves in the damn fire and see what happens. And it's been the most painful and challenging, yet rewarding and exhilarating experience of my life. It's both. It's not one, it's both. And I feel I have been healing, not feeling safe inside of myself for quite some time. And this is a new level of feeling safe inside of myself. It's a whole new level because I am literally living in constant uncertainty, constant uncertainty. And now I'm in the precipice of going through this huge shift energetically, like a lot of people are. And I don't know quite what's next for me. I have some of the pieces, but I don't have all of the pieces. And I'm no longer willing to jump into something that I don't have all the pieces for. I'm at a space to where I'm patient enough to say, it's really uncomfortable where I am right now. It's really uncomfortable where I am. And I don't understand what's happening. There's a lot of things happening in my business that I don't understand. A lot of things in a lot of different areas of my life that I don't understand. And I don't understand it because it's in a state of change. It's in a state of transformation. It's not settled. It's not clear yet. The dust has still been kicked up from everything that's changing. Things are falling down, falling away, breaking. New things are being built. There's a lot of dust. It's not quite clear. And, in the past, a couple of years ago, I would have just taken this couple of pieces that I had and said, I'll make something out of this. I'll make something fit. And I don't do those things anymore. I don't try to mitigate the fall. I don't try to break the fall. I don't try to stop the pain. It sucks. It's just a shitty feeling, and it sucks. That part of the ride sucks. It just does. There's no other way to describe it. But at the same time, I'm looking at myself and going, I am so proud of you. Like, you're not losing your shit. You're not freaking out in fear that you don't know where you're going to live in a week, or if you'll have a roof over your head, or how you're going to pay your bills, or whether someone likes you or not, or whether you feel abandoned or not, or whether the fact that you're going through 5 stages of grief on repeat in 24 hours over and over again. Like, I have grace and compassion for myself. It doesn't mean that I'm still not like, damn, this shit sucks, and having my person who I talk to things about, but I go through it. I'm not stopping it. I'm not breaking it. And that's the very best gift that I can give to you guys and to myself, is to just take a step forward. It 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 feels like at times it's raining icicles, it can be that painful. But I continue to show up as much as I can, and I continue to serve myself first, because that's what's most important. My season of overgiving is done. It's done. I just am not going to do it anymore. So 2022 has been the most challenging year of my life. What it's shown me is that I choose to continuously be here. I choose this because no matter how painful it is at times, it also has the opposite. There's been extremely moments of extreme bliss and appreciation and peace And I've learned so much. And I think that if I had to continuously start over and over and over while I'm exhausted from doing that and I really want to be settled again, I would do it because what I've gained is worth it. And we don't always know this when we're in it. But the moment we start to come out of being in it, in the thick of it, we remind ourselves, like, oh, okay, I have a totally different perspective, right? And this is why QET, right? Quantum embodiment technique that I taught in Solvation and that I've been using for a few years now has been so important because that's what a quantum leap is. A quantum leap is not going from where you are to where you want to be. A quantum leap is quantum jumping into the version of you, the aspect of you that you need to be in at that moment for the process of integration. And that's what QET does. If you've ever seen the show Quantum Leap, the original, I have not seen the new one. I just can't do it. The original is just too good. I can't watch the new one. But if you've ever seen the original Quantum Leap, when he's jumping into different bodies, it's the same concept, right? He's quantum leaping into another version of him. But you don't have to do that necessarily in different lifetimes. It's about jumping into different versions of you that already exist right here within you, like that you can access in this life. It's choosing to see, feel, hear, experience this reality from a different set of eyes, from a different feeling in the body. It has fucking changed my life. And I'm so grateful. Those tools would not have, had I not chosen in 2019 to just start fucking running straight into my fears, start running straight into the fire, I never would have been able to download and access and utilize these gifts and these knowings that have come. They wouldn't have, it wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for these things. But, I have to believe, I choose to believe that it's going to get better, that only good can come from all that I've been through, all that I'm currently going through, uh, that you're just going to watch it get better, right? You're going to see me soar. You're going to see me reap the rewards of all that I have given over the last 7 years, all that I've shared, all that I have laid my heart on the line, all that I have done. I'm going to reap the rewards of that. I have to believe that. I choose to believe that. I choose to believe that only good can come from anything. It's just a matter of continuously being in that energy of knowing. And that is the true test of listening to your intuition. It's the true test of faith. When when it looks like it's not going to work out, when it looks like it's not going to go your way, when it looks like you have failed, when it looks like you're never going to get better, you're never going to be happy, you're never going to feel good, no one's ever going to want you, whatever the fucking story is, you choose to believe anyway. You say, it's okay that you feel this way. It's okay that I feel that way. I'm not going to deny what I'm feeling, but I choose to believe that it's going to be okay. Even if I'm not okay, I'm going to be okay. That's the true test of faith. So something that I do in Solvation, and we'll talk more about that as I get ready to relaunch it, but I talk about this. We have our core wounds. Most people think that their Pluto, whatever energy they hold in their Pluto in their chart, is a wound. And of course, everything has both a wound and a gift. Like it's duality. It has to be that way. But Pluto is your transformation. Pluto is always your transformation. So my transformation is when I listen to my intuition. Because when I'm not listening to my intuition, then I am in the density of it. I'm in doubt. I'm in confusion. I'm not believing. So I always have to ask myself, what's the opposite? What is this an opportunity for? Inversion hacking. If I'm in doubt, what is my guides trying to tell me this is an opportunity for? To trust, to have faith. even when it looks like it ain't happening, even when it really isn't happening. Like when you have to face reality of what is real, not fear, false evidence appearing real, not what might be happening in the future, what is right now. You have to face what is right now, but you still have to choose to believe that only good can come from it. And that's where I am right now. It's like I just keep saying, only good can come from this. I choose to believe it's all going to work out. I choose to believe all the pieces are going to line up. It's all going to fall. And in 6 months, I'm going to look back and go, wow, that was a time in my life. You know what I mean? I'm going to miss this time in my life, even though I'm living in uncertainty on a constant basis. My channeling has improved. I'm communicating with higher level beings. I have a more regulated nervous system than I've ever had in my life. I feel safe even when everything around me should show me otherwise. This only comes from being in the fire. That's it. It's the only place it comes from. Sonia says she's been a hardest year for her too. Bye, Sonia. Have a good day. Bye, Heather. And I think that's where we're gonna probably wrap it up for today anyway. I just wanted to come on and have a little chat and talk about it's okay to not be okay. It's okay. It's okay. And when people say they're having a bad day, when people say they're not okay, it's not a time for you to pity them because pity takes their power away. There's nothing to be sorry about. It's a time for you to be like, I'm here for you. I will sit in the dark with you. You're not alone. You're loved. I'm proud of you for admitting your emotions. That's how we should be responding to people. That's how we should be. When we see someone on social media struggling, or when you meet a friend and they're like, I'm having a bad day, you'd be like, I'm proud of you for admitting that. Awesome. It's okay to have a bad day. I'm here with you if you want to talk. You're not alone. That's how we should be responding when we see people going through the emotions. That is where our power lies. I feel like a rug has been pulled from under me. Life's plans just falling through. Definitely not okay. I'm with you. It's okay to not be okay because you're not alone. And only good will come from it. But right now, we can't see that yet. Right now, we just have to be where we are. Feel like I'm failing. Yeah. Do you know what my guides always say? Because I had the same thing the other day. I was like, man, I really failed at this. And they said most people don't even try. So if you're failing, you're trying. But the biggest gift I've ever given myself is to let myself fall, to not try to break the fall, because I'm gonna be able to rebuild a lot faster if I just let go and let myself fall. If I'm fighting and resisting it on the way down, it's gonna take me forever to get to the bottom, and I might be a deeper bottom than I needed to be in the first place. So a lot of times I just say to myself, well, this is what we're doing. Apparently, this is the plan now. It sucks. It's uncomfortable. It's not what I would have chosen for myself. It's not what my expectations were, but here we are. Right? It's a deeper level of acceptance. You walk outside, you had a plan to go enjoy the beach, and you walk outside and it's raining. It's raining. Okay, plans are changed. Let's do something else. It sucks when our expectations and the things that we thought we wanted for ourselves falls away and gets pulled out from underneath us. It really sucks. So I'm with you, and I know what you're feeling, and I'm proud of you for letting yourself fall. It's really good. So be proud of yourself for allowing yourself to go through this. Oh, so I hope you guys can give yourself so much compassion and love. I'm trying to control. I know I need to learn more trust and surrender. Just focus on acceptance right now. Can you accept what is happening? Not, don't think of the future. Get out of the future. right? So fear is us trying to mitigate the future based upon the algorithm of the past. Neither one of those things is in the present moment. So can you just work what's in front of you, what's happening in front of you? Can you accept that it is happening? Acceptance is not agreement. Can you accept what is happening? This is what happening. It sucks. I don't want it to happen, but it's happening. Can I just accept that it is happening? Start there. Start there. Small doses, small doses, small, sometimes you have to live life 10 minutes at a time. Sometimes you're living your life a week at a time. You got to be where you are in the moment. I hope you guys enjoyed this raw live. Please share it with somebody that you feel called to, or somewhere where other people can know that they're not alone, that we're all going through this together. We're not all in the same boat, but we all are all in the same storm. All right. I love you guys. I will be hopefully, there's a lot of new things that are going to be shifting and changing. My private mentorship is undergoing a complete overhaul that's way overdue. And Solvation, the way that I run my courses is all about to change as well. So Solvation should have, my goal was to have it launched October 5th. Obviously, that did not happen. So I'm waiting on some last minute things. So as soon as I get this last bit of editing done, I will be starting to offer Solvation again. I'm going to do one. My goal is to do one more round this year. It will go into January, and then we will start going through. We're going to have new things that are going to start to cycle through. So that's probably going to be the last thing I offer for the year, is another round of Solvation, and that is using QET, which is quantum leaping, and purification process. And it's really about feeling safe inside of yourself, even in a constant state of uncertainty. It's a very powerful experience that we just wrapped a couple of weeks ago. So look for that. That's going to be coming. And I'll be checking in from time to time. But I love you guys. Have some compassion for yourself. That's the most important thing. Strip away everything. Just have compassion for yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time. Just know that you're doing the very best that you can at any given moment, and try to do better. That's all you can ever do. Okay? So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.